So yesterday we found out that Jackson County Executive Frank White could be on the verge of being officially recalled. This after we found out that the required votes are in. They still have to be verified, but they've reached the threshold of nearly 43,000 signatures on the Frank White recall petition. That is about 25% of registered voters in the county. So now Sean Smith, a Jackson County legislator, is here on KCMO, and we'll get to your personal situation coming up here in a second, Sean. But let's just start off with the process here and the timeline for this potential recall vote of Frank White.
Yeah, so the charter, the Jackson County Charter, says that we have to have an election within 60 days of the signatures being obtained. We were notified that the signatures were obtained officially. They've been checked, that this is now enough signatures by individual registered voters in Jackson County that's been confirmed by both election boards. So what that means is right now we're looking at 60 days from there. If we pick a Tuesday, that looks like it's August, I think it's 26th. That would be the maximum amount of time allowable under the charter for the election boards to be ready and conduct an election.
Okay, so if we are looking at a potential date, it would be Tuesday, August 26th for a recall vote of Frank White. Frank White put out a statement, I'm sure you saw it here, and he said in part, this is a procedural step, not a verdict. He says here, this effort's being led and funded by dark money groups and self-interested insiders who were denied a blank check for a bad stadium deal. They didn't get what they wanted, and now they're trying to buy political revenge. It's not about public service. It is about private gain. It's being driven by those who want county government to work for them and not for the people. How would you respond to Frank White?
So the first thing I'd say is whoever writes Frank's press releases about the recall election, I hope that they don't work for the county, because if they do, he appears to be violating the very thing he's accused me of doing, which I've tried not to do. That is using public funds in the discourse about an election, right? So, and I know that press release came from somebody that works for the county full time. So that's a problem. The other thing I would say is it shows just a level of tone deafness. The fact is that this effort started as a very grassroots effort, people who had never done anything like it before. And at some point, after almost a year of effort, they were aided by some other folks who, on an organized basis, got together and threw some money in a pot and engaged some professionals. But 2/3 of these signatures, by my estimation, came from that grassroots effort. And the funny thing is the funding sources in this so-called dark money, most of them are people who gave to Frank White. I looked at his MEC reports this morning. Most of them, I believe, are people who gave to Frank White's committee to be reelected in 2022. So if it's dark money that is getting him out, then it was dark money that put him in.
Fair enough. All right. So, Sean Smith, what about a potential, I know this is getting down the road a little bit here, but we've seen some names interested. Dan Tarwater says that he would love to be the replacement for Frank White. It has to be a Democrat. It can't be a Republican based on county law. So you're out of the mix. Who would you want to see and who would you vote for being the next county executive?
Yeah, I haven't made any decisions yet. I think we need to get through the process of getting the election date figured out. I've heard from a couple of those people you mentioned. Fact is that until I know who all the options are, I wouldn't even begin to say that I have a picked candidate or a preferred candidate. Seems inappropriate to put that too far forward.
Let me ask you this. I've seen, and there's been some mixed reporting on whether or not Frank White would resign first because it may save his pension if he resigns versus getting recalled. But then I was doing some research on this, and I saw that there would have to be a felony potentially tied to it for him to lose a pension even if he is recalled. What's your understanding on that?
Yeah, so there was even a piece of legislation that was introduced. I don't think that it's gone anywhere to remove his pension and any of his direct reports that he appointed if he's recalled. I don't think that legislation has gone anywhere. I will say that a pension is both for the person that receives it and their spouse. His spouse certainly hasn't done anything wrong, as far as I know. So I mean, I'm not necessarily in favor of that level of punitive action unless and until there is some sort of felony conviction, which I won't say is impossible at this point from what I've observed.
Okay, but at this point, it is true that a recall of Frank White would not result in a loss of pension unless there's a felony involved here.
As far as I know, that's correct.
Okay.
And I'll just say one other thing, and that is that pensions, of course, you have to vest after a certain period of time. If Frank survives his full term he will be 11 days short of serving 10 full years as our county executive. So he was appointed as a result of our prior county executive facing federal charges. So here we are, and we have a county executive who on January 11th, 10 days after the normal swearing-in period, was first appointed. And so this would have an impact on his pension. It would lessen his pension amount, but it wouldn't completely eliminate it if he's recalled in November.
Really know how to pick the winners there in Jackson County, huh?
You know, it's been a challenge.
Unbelievable. All right, now let's get to your situation here. Frank White is asking for an investigation into you regarding potential violations of state and county law. Writing in a letter here, Frank White says our office has received credible and concerning information that Legislator Sean Smith used Jackson County resources, staff time, facilities, technology, and data for political purposes tied to the recall of a duly elected official. Did you do that?
No, as a matter of fact, it's funny, in Idaho, using my own laptop. I was on a trip visiting family, and I recorded a video that they're referring to, which really explains the 2025 assessment, because we have these unusual caps in place, not going up by more than 15% versus 22 plus another 15% for 25. People were very confused about that. So I recorded just an off-the-cuff video, showed people how that math worked, showed people a little bit about how it impacted the senior tax freeze. And at the end, I said, look, this is a mess, right? I understand it's complicated. And the only way, and I still firmly believe this, the only way to get rid of Frank White the only way to solve this permanently is to get rid of Frank White. That was the last 15 seconds of the video, all unscripted. My legislative aide thought it was helpful, so she disseminated that video to people who had questions about their assessment. And then it was brought to my attention that I had said that at the end. So immediately upon learning that, I removed that last 15 seconds, figured that's good. And the fact is that even if I had left that in there, and I've been told by an attorney, even if I did use county resources and emailed everybody in the county and said, please recall Frank White, that wouldn't even be a violation of the law, because the idea that you're not yet in an election cycle, you're just collecting the signatures, is not covered by the law that he's referring to.
So you're saying there's really no leg to stand on here?
No, he's strictly trying to take attention off of himself. And as I was coming over here today and as I was waiting to talk to you, I actually looked through all the major media outlets where they posted that story about, Frank saying that I'd done something wrong. 100% of the feedback is Frank is a crook. We all know it. And he's throwing aspersions at Sean because he wants to, try to defer the light of justice off of himself and on to somebody else. So doesn't look like to me anybody in this town that knows what they're talking about that buys what Frank White is throwing down.
All right. Well, I will pencil in Tuesday, August 26th for a potential recall vote, and we'll see how it plays out, Sean Smith. Thank you.
A couple days after my birthday. That's what I want for my birthday now.
Me too. What's your birthday?
August 23rd.
Oh, mine's the 24th.
There you go. Rock and roll.
We're Virgos, baby, right? There you go. Sean Smith, love to see you, my man. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Pete.
Coming up, we'll get you the top 3 highs and lows from the first 6 months in Kansas City. Coming up next.
Summer's here, and so are the deals. Pre-owned vehicles starting at $198 a month. Up to $4,000 in down payment assistance. 2 locations, Kansas City and Blue Springs. Only at Jeremy Franklin Automotive. JeremyFranklin.com.
I'm Kansas Treasurer Stephen Johnson. Check fraud has more than doubled in the last decade. So keep your account safe by practicing safe checks. Use permanent gel pens, avoid blank spaces, withhold personal information, review your account statement and paid checks, and use digital payment options when possible. Go to practicesafechecks.com to learn more about ways you can reduce your risk.
Sponsored by the Kansas Bankers Association, Kansas State Treasurer's Office, Office of the State Bank Commissioner, and aired in cooperation with the Kansas Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Tariffs, the stock market, world events, governmental decisions. How will they affect you and your retirement dollars? To stay in the know, tune into the Retirement Income Hour with Mark Falter. Mark will talk about these and other topics to help you make proper decisions when it comes to your retirement future. The Retirement Income Hour with Mark Falter can be heard right here every Saturday and Sunday morning at 9. Investment advisory services offered through Mid-American Wealth Advisory Group, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm.
Quick Relief Plumbing, we're on the way. Day or night, we'll save the day. Call us now, we're just a ring for speedy service. service, we're the real thing.
Quick Relief Plumbing, your local plumbing experts, specializing in new energy-efficient water heaters and top-quality water filtration systems, ensuring your water is clean and pure. Now offering $500 off water heaters and water purification systems at quickreliefplumbing.com. That's quickreliefplumbing.com.